Hello and welcome to our first segment of Rio Talk. This is a talk show set up by students at Rio Hondo College. We're going to talk about some of the things going on in the world today, give you some different perspectives from different types of students. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, I guess we should introduce ourselves. My name is Eric Munoz. I'm the broadcast news director for El Paisano News. And you guys are?
My name is Dante Lopez Bennett and I'm a staff writer with El Paisano News.
My name is Ryan Rivera. I'm Vice Sheriff and Senator at Large for Public Relations here at Rio Hondo.
And today I wanted to talk about a few different things. The first thing that I want to talk about is the death of the Playboy CEO and mogul Hugh Hefner. This was really big news for a lot of different people because this was a man that really kind of revolutionized the way that sex and the female body are kind of viewed in the world, kind of brought sexuality to the mainstream, and it really definitely affected lots of people's lives. I definitely think that without Hugh Hefner there would be no internet porn industry, and so that's kind of one of the first things that comes to my mind when I think about how large his influence was. What do you gentlemen think?
Actually, when I first think of him, the first thing that doesn't come up is porn. Actually, the first thing that comes up to me is actually the style that women wear right now. You know, because like we were actually talking about this earlier. You said that back in 1950s they would just wear these long dresses that didn't show any kind of skin. Now you see pretty much any kind of style nowadays. We see women wearing pretty much anything they want to express themselves, and I think that's what he brought to the world: freedom to wear what the heck you want, when you want, without you being afraid of it. I think that's what he brought. So I think that's the first thing that comes up to me: freedom of however you want, and that's why I think America's a great country, because that's what we got. So I don't know about you, Dante. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with some of those points. Yeah, I've got to disagree with the fact that he brought pornography to life. I think that was bound to happen. That was inevitable, as we went along in human history. So I definitely say that he made certain things more accepted by mainstream society.
Correct. I think that when it comes to at least pornography in our way, is that in America, pornography is a lot more accepted than it was 60, 70 years ago. And what we saw with Playboy is that it's possible for the naked body to be classy, to be not necessarily like, I want to call it like a faux pas, like not a social norm, like something to look down upon. And then when we look at other countries that aren't exactly as don't have that freedom of expression, we look at like the Middle East, where they went in the opposite direction and got really repressive since the 1970s, and so that could have definitely happened with us, but due to people like Hugh Hefner, and then we were talking about his counterpart Larry Flynt, that kind of really brought at least the female body into like a mainstream field of entertainment, whereas before I really think it was more or less behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm. I'll add a little bit more to that, just because I really didn't know much about this guy, and it's funny because just recently we just had a class in what's called Journalism 120, and of course our professor Wendy Carrera actually gave us more information about what he actually kind of did and why is he important to actually us, as millennials, I guess you want to say. And of course, he was pretty much in a way a journalist. He gave information in his own way, and in his own way that probably wasn't as popular as it was now, as it is now. And he kind of went against everyone telling him no, and he did it his own way. And the originality, that's what I'm trying to get at. His originality to give us a certain message and a different message is what I like. And so besides that, I can't give you much about him because I think most people don't know too much about him. I think what people know about him is just his magazine, Playboy. He's just an old dude with all these girls in the mansion. I think that's what most people think of when you see him. But after that class session, it made me look at him differently. So
if there's anything more to add to that, I do think we could accredit him with the birth of celebrities being held in such high esteem. Like it's the first time we've ever really looked at something like the Playboy covers that were coming out with celebrity women.
Right, because the first was called
in fact Marilyn Monroe.
Exactly, yeah.
So it kind of led to a skyrocketing in what we view a celebrity should be. We want to know everything about them. We want to know their most intimate parts, and Hugh Hefner kind of made that possible. So yeah, definitely.
I mean, from a personal experience, I know I experienced something a little bit different than you guys because I knew who Hugh Hefner was at a very young age, and to me, Hugh Hefner was the king of cool. Like, he was the guy that you wanted to be. You wanted to be, you wanted to be Hugh Hefner. And even as a kid, like, you would watch Bart Simpson. There's an episode where he finds one of his dad's Playboys, and so he starts throwing like Playboy-esque parties. And then like it's funny because what really happens is he just classes up the treehouse. And he invites just, you know, an older crowd, and he's making older jokes, and that's what that was. It really kind of cemented like this adult contemporary kind of like scene and feel, and really kind of captured what it meant to like be entertained as an adult, because that was definitely like that was adult entertainment, and it was classy adult entertainment, because the counterpart would be like Maxim, where it was kind of like took a little bit of the class out of it. And I brought this up in class earlier that a lot of writers were, I don't want to say made their first feature in Playboy, but were featured in Playboy. Are writers like Chuck Palahniuk and Ray Bradbury, Kurt Vonnegut, Jack Kerouac, all of these really prolific American writers.
And of course, we've seen their works go on to be actually studied in schools.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like giant literary giants in the literary world were featured in Playboy, and that was one thing that we have to definitely like make note of, is that Playboy made all of these different writers really accessible.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the first point you had, that it built a platform for everybody, whether it's controversial or not. It did give women a voice that was heard, and it definitely did,
I wouldn't say a voice. I wouldn't.
Well, it gave them an image.
There we go. That's more.
I think it made them in charge of their.
Yeah, not necessarily a voice, just because it's just pictures, I mean, it's just images, right?
Oh, and then there are like I don't mean to cut you off, but there is a Me and My Place segment where they do interview the main centerfold.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they do that anymore, but when I was reading Playboy, that you would definitely see that.
Back when we were 12. Well.
Yeah, back when we it was still in paper, but. We definitely talked. Like, these women weren't just beautiful bodies. Like, you would speak to them and you would hear like
there were personalities.
Yeah, exactly. Like the kind of shit they have in their home, or like what kind of things they like to do on their free time.
Their personal lives, love lives specifically.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like Hugh Hefner really kind of gave women that. And there was always that, like, Hugh Hefner never forced anybody to live at the Playboy Mansion. If you got to the Playboy Mansion and found out that it sucked, then it would. I can't imagine that anybody would have stayed there, because like, why would you stay in any job that you don't enjoy? So.
Well, I mean, why would you stay in a job that you don't enjoy?
Well, because you need the money. Yeah, exactly. No, I definitely agree to that. But would you? Would you honestly, if it's like, because it's got to be good money. It's got to be a good life.
Definitely. I mean, like, seriously, all those girls have probably like 2 cars.
Yeah, I can't imagine in the mansion. I've never really set foot in a mansion.
I want to actually get into just a different side of the story. So most of the people, when you hear his name, you already know his legacy. You know what kind of magazines he gave out. But one thing I noticed is that people just forgotten about Playboy. Not a lot of people talk about it anymore. It's usually, if it just ends up in a conversation, they're like, oh yeah, I know that it is, and I know what Playboy is, but it's not really that popular anymore.
Yeah,
I mean, of course, because of the increase of the internet and like, pornography and things like that. But do you think that this name or his legacy will be remembered throughout the future, or you think it's just because he's just recently passed away? Do you think we're talking about it right now?
Well, I think that he will be remembered in the same way that Alexander Graham Bell will be remembered for the telephone. Like, obviously there's a cell phone. We don't remember the guy who invented the cell phone. We don't remember the guy that invented internet porn. But we do remember is Hugh Hefner.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be...
I don't think you can say one guy invented
internet porn.
Right,
no,
right.
okay, for sure. But there definitely is got to be like an epicenter, or like a center for where these industries blossomed from. I think that something that we have to remember is that, like, all magazines are kind of on their way out. And so, like, just because, like, even though, because Playboy was that magazine, like, even though there's Maxim and Hustler and, like, Jugs.
I don't know. But
Like,
yeah,
they're that Playboy is the magazine that you think about when you think dirty magazine. Like, what are you hiding under your bed? Like, dirty magazine.
Sure, definitely.
And so I think that even when there's no more dirty magazines, Hugh Hefner is still gonna represent like the king of that world.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just me or so, but I totally forgot about the guy till yesterday. I was going through Instagram and then, something came up with about his name that he just passed away. I was like, most of the time those kind of things are false or like fake, so I went to Google it, and yeah, he passed away. I think it was like at night, not 9 p.m. around there. Natural causes probably. He was probably,
He was 91 years old. I mean, the man was old.
Yeah.
So that's not what we're.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to get at is that I forgot about the guy till yesterday just because he just passed away. So if I was thinking like that, or I forgot about him, don't you think people will forget about him?
I feel like now I know that this is gonna sound like I'm being a little
disagree with that
pompous.
point.
Yeah,
Okay, go
like,
ahead.
You're just a few years younger than us,
Oh,
or at least than
alright.
me. I don't know how old you are, but you're a few years younger than I am, and so I was in that generation where Hugh Hefner was the
felt
bee's
actual
knees.
ambiance.
Yeah,
You know,
for
nightclubs
sure.
started to shift in what was happening. back
Yeah.
then because of things that did go on in Playboy Party.
Exactly, or even like that. You guys, if you remember that reality TV show
About Playboy?
there was
Yeah.
there about Hugh Hefner's
Yeah.
wife.
Oh.
Yeah, at the
okay.
time, and then they ended up getting divorced. It was a big thing to my generation in like sixth
Definitely.
grade. So you would have been fourth or fifth, or even third. You wouldn't have given you wouldn't have cared.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, most of the people in Instagram or like in social media are young people.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I'm trying to get at is, do you think the new generations that are gonna, what's it called, be in the future, you think they will remember or they will know about this guy?
I think so because they'll have to remember him. I think his name is gonna go down in the history books as the man that actually.
Do you really think so?
I do think so.
Wow. Okay, so you think we will be seeing his name in some history books?
I know so.
You know so.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think
So
that they're
hard.
already kind of there.
Okay.
Definitely.
I haven't seen it in any history book so far, so.
Oh, have you taken an anthropology class?
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like
haven't
that's
seen
where
it
they
yet.
would be. I feel like they would be in like anthropology and like
Okay.
sociology.
American history in general.
Oh yeah,
Like
definitely.
we said, if you could shift culture in such a way that makes women be seen as having
Mhm.
some sort of authority or power, like
Right.
because you have tons of men, you have millions of men each
Mhm.
week tuning in to what this one woman is saying. She's on the cover and she's looking all nice,
Mhm.
and I think it goes without saying that you did shift the paradigm, especially in such conservative times. So.
Very true, very true.
We're gonna wrap it up. That's it for the first edition of Rio Talk. Thank you so much for watching, and tune in next week.